Hello, avid viewers, and welcome to Live from Beyond, an extra special edition where we don't play any games, we just talk at you and at each other. I am Nick. I am one of the players who you will frequently see on Live from Beyond, and I am joined by Kevin, one of our esteemed members and founder, I guess, who also very frequently GMs in the game. So, hello, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going awesomely.
Great.
I am excited to be here doing this new and unique version of Live from Beyond. It's like we planned this out. We decided weeks in advance that was going to be tonight's thing. We prepped for it heavily, and it's going to be really good.
Fair enough.
So for our viewers, just so you know, we're taking a little bit of a break this week and perhaps next week from our live stream that we do from 7:30 to 9:30 usually on Tuesdays. Please watch. We've been playing Star Wars: The Edge of the Empire, and we've been doing a sort of West Marches style campaign. But tonight we're on hiatus, and Kevin and I are going to bring you just our briefest of discussions, so you can decide whether or not you like our personalities outside of when we play characters.
Yeah.
Assuming we're not playing characters right now.
Well,
I don't know. I should have been Kevin and you should have been Nick, and it would have been funny. Or probably not, actually.
I mean, depends how well we
But one of the biggest reasons we're taking a hiatus and sort of winding down is because in just over a week, we will be at GenCon. I think it's tagged as the world's largest gaming convention.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Gen Con is awesome. For those of you who have not gone or have not heard, you should definitely show up, and it's going to be really good fun. And several of your favorite people from Live from Beyond will be there walking around talking. In fact, as a warning to whatever crazy GM somehow watches Live from Beyond, you may see Kitty Kennedy at every single game that I attend. I may simply Kitty Kennedy up the entire 4 days of Gen Con. Okay, it doesn't matter if I'm playing like a teenage mystery game or if I'm, the bad guy in an alien suit. I will somehow be Kitty Kennedy.
That voice will come out.
Yes, absolutely.
It'll be,
I almost did it just now, but I don't think I remember it.
You'll be in a stormtrooper costume, and then everyone around will know.
Listen,
that you were just acting as a stormtrooper, acting as Kitty Kennedy. You were acting as Kitty Kennedy, acting as a stormtrooper.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But am I a clone of Kitty Kennedy then? I don't know. That's too confusing. But I feel like the ultimate goal here is the year that I go to Gen Con and I cosplay Kitty Kennedy and people recognize me and ask to take my picture.
Yeah.
I think that's the ultimate goal.
I think that's when we shut LFE down. I think that's a sign of the end times.
I think that is a wise move.
It's gone too far. We were too preoccupied to think about whether or not we could. We never stopped to think about whether we should. Yeah.
So, tell me, Kevin, as I guess the reigning veteran of Gen Con now in our group, perhaps, with 3 whole cons under your belt.
I think Kim and was anybody else? Kim and Aaron may have been to 4. I think I may have gone to 1 without me.
Well, how about we put it this way for the sake of time? As the reigning veteran between you and me.
Fair enough.
Tell me what is the one thing you're most looking forward to at Gen Con?
Oh, man.
I know it's tough.
I'm just excited to see what's out there this year. I always like to go to Gen Con with kind of I kind of like to look around at what's going to come out, but I think you can always kind of... Oh my god, a spider just crawled across my webcam. Anyways, literally.
It's just supposed to be you and me. There's no third person in this stream.
You tell that to him. Yeah, you never know. You never know exactly what's going to come out at Gen Con and really, take people's imaginations. And then, of course, you're always trying new stuff, and even something that could be old that you've never tried that you get exposed to. Yeah, I think I'm just excited to be exposed to new things and find some new favorites. What about you?
That's good. It's so coincidentally, that is pretty close to the answer I was going to give. Well, no. So last year, I think it was my first year, and I was a little bit trepidatious, and I was kind of interested in seeing. I also last year I also still felt very not like I'm an expert by far, as our viewers can attest to, but I feel like I felt much more low level in terms of just understanding role playing and different systems and stuff even back then. So I was kind of excited just to play like a million games, because that's what I'd been told to expect, right? Like we're gonna role play like every day, and it doesn't matter if it's like good, bad, or ugly. You're just gonna try things, and it'll be fun.
Right.
And that is exactly what happened. And we had some interesting experiences.
Yeah, you always get a mixed bag of games at Gen Con. I don't think I've ever been to a Gen Con out of the 3 that I've been to where all the games were good. I'm pretty sure every single Gen Con had a bunch of lunkers. Well, maybe not a bunch, some more than others. But every Gen Con has had some really good games too. And some things that I wasn't expecting to be good were good, and some things I was expecting to be really good were mediocre or fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you remember, you were there, so you were only there last year. You weren't there the year that we actually had the GM fall asleep, right?
No, but I heard about it a lot in the build-up to last year, and it didn't excite me. But I mean, the fact that you were all talking about it, a year later was obviously meant it was memorable. But
okay, well, I mean,
it wasn't exactly an advertisement.
We had some games last year that were questionable. We had the Bryce Whittaker game, which I enjoyed very much. You weren't a fan.
You can't name names on such a public podcast.
Bryce Whittaker's going to show up and get sad. Maybe. I mean, Bryce, if you're out there, I liked your game. Nick, kind of an asshole, didn't care much for it.
Wow. So you name names and then just blacklist me. So for Bryce Whittaker, because we're name dropping like motherfuckers. Bryce Whittaker, since you're clearly out there,
published author,
watching. Since you're clearly out there watching this. It's true, I did not particularly like your game, although I was highly amused by you and your style, and quite impressed by the outfit that you wore.
Anyway, so I guess to clue some people in, we played a Sherlock Holmes game, with a pretty, I don't know if I would call it innovative resolution mechanic. A resolution mechanic I hadn't seen before. Where he would. So what was the idea? You would. He gave you a bunch of clues, and you could investigate something, but you had to spend a point, and you only had a certain amount of points. Well, that sounds a lot like
you had to kind of but you sort of had to like multiple choice choose between which part of the clue to investigate. I don't know. Like you find a fingerprint, and the question is like, do you try and figure out who it belonged to, or do you focus on like what it was smudged in and where that might have come from, or something like that.
So I mean, I guess in some ways it does sound kind of like Trail of Cthulhu. It didn't feel like Trail of Cthulhu at all when we played it. Or we weren't spending points, were we? We were rolling dice, but we only had like a certain amount of dice to roll or something.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, clearly it left an impression on us, and we remember every detail.
It was a resource management game, very heavy resource management in terms of clues and mystery. You didn't really have to think, which kind of wasn't that great. I guess you did need to think, because you needed to pick your clues right.
Yeah, I mean, and the characters we had were actually interesting. I thought by far the best part of it was that he had thrown in some interesting characters with. I mean, he gave you just enough to say, all right, you're going to need to, I mean, if you want to have fun, you're going to need to act out a couple of these interesting traits of so-and-so.
Right, and I dove into it. I don't know if he was prepared for the level that we brought. And that other kid...
He's not quite at our level yet.
The other kid was climbing everything. He really got into it.
Yes, but Bryce Whittaker shut him down, because climbing buildings in Sherlockian times is not really the main thing you're supposed to be doing.
Anyways,
yes, a mixed bag.
Dread was really good. Dread was really good, and it didn't. This is going to sound negative. It didn't need to be more than it was. It was just a Dread game with suspense, and it was kind of. I mean, there wasn't a lot of meat to the story, right? It was just people, getting hurt or mysterious things happening over and over, and sort of close calls until I guess there were people. I think eventually Michael died or something. Anyways, but it was fun. The Jenga tower obviously is a ridiculous mechanic. So if you don't know Dread's a game where it's a horror game. There's a Jenga tower in the middle of the table, and every time you want to resolve an action, you got to take a Jenga thing out, and if you knock over the tower, basically the idea is if you knock over the tower, you die. You can fudge it if you knock it over really early. That's like an injury or whatever. But that's the basic idea. It was really fun. I thought
it was really good. I heard somebody recently actually discuss Dread, although they hadn't played it, and they said something to the effect of, I don't know that the mechanic itself is, gonna blow me away or really lend itself to like the pacing of the game, but a lot of people seem to have fun. They're obviously legitimately having fun. So as you say, it doesn't need to be more than it is. Like if you're enjoying sort of combining those challenges in an amusing way, then that just is what it is.
Right. I wouldn't want to play a campaign of Dread.
No,
but I think playing the game once a year or once every other year with Dread is just fun. It's just suspense, and a lot of that is coming from the Jenga tower, but it all works together pretty well.
It's something you can throw together pretty easily at a party almost, right? Or where you're playing some board games, you have a Jenga tower, and even if you want, somebody could just make up a story on the spot. You don't have to go into all of the sort of interpersonal stuff quite as much as you're really supposed to when you start a Dread campaign.
Right. I've kind of entertained ideas of how we could do Dread on the stream, but obviously we don't have a Jenga tower on the internet.
And I think any virtual way that we could do it would take away all of the intrigue.
Is there a virtual Jenga tower? That's actually a good idea.
I'm sure there's a virtual Jenga, or I'm sure there's something that gives you the same general sense of if everybody's clicking away at this thing, eventually one of those clicks is gonna blow up, a virtual bomb on the screen. But does that do anything? No.
All right. Well.
But yeah, so Gen Con is a mixed bag, as you said. Those are two of the games we played. The Sherlock games.
I wouldn't call Gen Con a mixed bag. I would say that the experience of Gen Con, the experience of going to Gen Con is not gonna be like home runs every single game, and I think that's part of it. Because you go there, you're connecting with the rest of gaming culture, and some people are idiots, and some people are really cool, and some people know how to dream really well, and some people don't, or that it's maybe just not your style, right? I wouldn't say that Gen Con's a mixed bag. It is what it is pretty consistently, and it's pretty consistently what it is.
Fun.
Yeah, of course it's fun. But yeah, I wouldn't say if you go there expecting every single game to match your own personal.
No.
Ethos.
No, and this is kind of such a cliche, but you get out of it what you put into it, right? Like what you make of each game. If there's a bad game, you either cut it short, or you just get something out of it and know what you don't like and how not, what things to avoid, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you get what you can. But yeah, so last year I was really excited to play all those games and see it, and I was a little exhausted walking around and looking at all the different things. But this year I'm much more looking forward to that. I feel like I have a better grasp on what I do and I don't like, and I want to go to a lot more publishers and just see what it is that they have out there. Things, ideas for the stream, ideas for stuff in person.
Are you going to visit the Pellegrini Press booth?
We're just going to drop that right now. We're going to. All right, let's just make this clear. We're coming for you guys. You're going to see some fucking nerds walk up to your table with expectant looks on their faces and Live from Beyond t-shirts on their chests. And they're just going to be like, hey, it's us.
And
you guys are going to be like, are you paying customers? Is that what it is? We talk to a lot of people. So, but no, I can't lie. Part of the reason that I love some of their games so much and them is because last year I thought we had a particularly strong experience at their table.
As a Pellegrini Press booth. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, to give them.
Do you remember
the
name of the gentleman who helped us?
I believe it was Simon, one of the publishers, who just really expertly explained a bunch of the games to us.
Yeah, I would say he was an expert salesman, but I think that he just explained the games that sounded awesome to us, and thought they sounded awesome. And then,
well, I think he was pretty honest about which ones he really loved and which ones he just loved a decent amount.
Right.
Not like there was anything there he didn't like. But yeah, so we'll be stopping there in our t-shirts and hello in the future. But yeah, I mean, I just want to see. I want to see what's out there. I'm certainly excited to see if I can find a copy, because I'll wait until Gen Con to look, of Bubblegum Shoe.
Okay, right.
Which is coming out.
Is it an indie game or is it Pelgrane Press?
No, so Gumshoe has finally been. I don't really know what the literary version of open source is, but you can now make Gumshoe games. It doesn't really matter. It's in the public domain. Whatever you want to say. So I believe it was Ken who took it to another publisher with someone else that he's collaborating with who is not Pelgrane at all. I don't remember off the top of my head who is publishing it, but I will look for it when I'm there. And it certainly sounded interesting, and the little tweaks to the mechanics that I've heard about make it interesting, because obviously we play a lot of Gumshoe, and we've sort of gotten into a groove of Gumshoe. I feel like Gumshoe and apocalypse-powered things are very strong for us.
Well, I mean, I agree. I don't think we play Gumshoe the way that it is necessarily written. Maybe 150%. I think we take Gumshoe, and we do our own thing with it, which is not like outside what's written. But I don't think it's the way that the people who wrote the game would run it necessarily. And I think that's okay. I mean, that's role playing, right? This is a hobby where people take your book and they're going to go into their own homes and run a game.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it is open source now, so we can do whatever the hell we want. We can call this Live from Beyond Gumshoe.
Right.
Right. Well, until we're too big for our britches and people start like copyright suing us and things like that, then we can't do whatever we want. But
yeah, maybe.
Whatever.
Oh, you get real.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, we will stop and look at a lot of things, because that's what I think I'm most excited about.
Well, if you're gonna drop a game that you want to see, I want to mention.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm excited about 7th Sea 2nd Edition.
I heard that you were excited about it.
I know. I posted about it. I've never had a good pirate game, right, that I really liked. I mean, I've run I've played in ocean-faring D&D games and stuff like that. And I've always, if there was ever a point where I was going to write a game, it would have been at a certain point when I was thinking about this pirate game. I never, this is me thinking about some bullshit. But
sure.
But I've never really run a good straight up pirate game. And 7th Sea sounds really cool.
There are a lot of 7th Sea games actually at Gen Con.
Well, right, because they're promoting it. They're promoting it. It's their 2nd edition launch and it's one of the big games I think coming out this year. That's not a Pathfinder book or a 5th edition book or something like that. Although it is by John Wick. John Wick, not my favorite. I don't know. Some internet stuff, some forum stuff. Let the bad taste.
Sorry, some porn stuff or
some forum stuff? I'm still
some
forum stuff.
Okay.
He doesn't always respond the best way in the forums, but I think he's probably the right guy. Anyways, but I'm really looking forward to the game. I think it looks kind of crunchy, but it seems to have this element of okay. So I'm gonna say an element of West Marches, where the players are the one who are deciding what is going to happen or where to go. Right? They're not deciding on the story, but they have an array of options, and they choose to launch themselves.
They drive the story a lot more.
Right, they drive the story by their choice, basically, of where to go and what to do, instead of what's the GM got ready for us this week. We walk into the tavern, who comes and talks to us, because that's what we're going to do. We're not going to be like, meh. In 7th Sea, you decide to go, as I understand, to this place or to this place or some other place, and maybe things happen to you on the way. Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a trend in games that I've liked to give more agency to the players. Obviously, when I run Apocalypse World, I give a lot, and it's a trend that I think has been continuing. I think it sort of exploded with some of the Apocalypse World stuff, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. But I like it, and I like to see games that follow that path in a different way. I think it's all good.
I mean, I'm definitely excited that we're playing it. I think all the stuff we're playing sounds pretty good, but that's definitely up there. It seems pretty well put together. I'm happy for it. I do have to say though, because you're reminding me of a thought I was having that, I'm the kind of person in general who's not really big on hype. If you tell me like this is the best TV show and everyone's watching it,
hype stream, so yeah.
Well, no, but my point is that doesn't really do it for me, and I find myself amused, or I certainly did last year, even at Gen Con, where I was I was having like an out of body experience because I was walking around the convention hall, and there were just some things that I automatically steered away from, or even sort of subconsciously sneered at because there were just throngs of people there.
Okay,
and I have like this nerd subsection in my head where I don't even want to be as nerdy as the nerds that I'm like nerdier already then.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. So I'm happy to play 7C, but I don't know, somehow, like especially Pathfinder, I just had absolutely no interest in looking at any of the Pathfinder stuff because it was half of the hall, despite how good it probably is. But
yeah, I mean, Pathfinder is a good game. I think it's a really good game. It's not. I don't want to spend my whole con playing it. In fact, we're not playing it any. I don't think.
No.
I think we got our fill of that.
I made sure of that.
I think we got our fill of that 2 years ago when 5th edition came out, and we played a bunch of that, which is fine. It's not. I mean, I don't know. It's in my humble opinion. You play whatever game you like. But the games that I like are, I have an appreciation for both like open storytelling games, which is the new thing, the hipster thing, but I like them. But I really appreciate some of the dungeon crawling stuff, some of the really like puzzle solving stuff, and Pathfinder, to me, strikes a little bit of an uncomfortable balance between those. It's not really one, it's not really the other. I think it's a good place to start because it's got enough of both that if you don't. If you don't know what you like, it's gonna press all the buttons and stuff, and it's got a bunch of mechanics to fall back on, which I think is good for most people. But it's not my favorite thing, right? I don't mind playing it, but to me it's not like one of these dungeon crawl. It can be, I guess, it can be a real dungeon crawl, but I prefer like DCC, some stuff that we've tried in the stream. And
DCC's fun, yeah.
Yeah, we tried it in the stream. I don't think it worked out that well, but. It's one of our early experiments.
Yes, very, very early. Well, it was fine on the stream. I mean, tokening around, it was a little cumbersome, basically, on the map. But, all right, well, so we're going to move on from Gen Con, but just, guys, we will be there. And if, by some chance, the 3 people that watch this, or 300, however many it is now, because we're popular and awesome, if any of you are at Gen Con and you see us in our shirts, walking around with smiles, just give us a hello.
Yeah, give us a hello and a $10 bill, please.
Listen, if you're gonna ask for money, you gotta aim higher than that.
I don't have to do anything.
The shirts alone need to be covered. But I guess we'll just end that part on this question of will we see D. Vincent Baker this year at Gen Con? Who knows?
Oh, he's definitely going to be there, and in fact, I believe. So I know Apocalypse World 2nd Edition is in the works.
I know. I don't think it's out yet still.
And when an RPG is in the works, unless you hear otherwise, you assume it's coming out at Gen Con that year.
Well, we could tell you on our related note that you heard it here first. Live from Beyond will be streaming an Apocalypse World some edition game within the next, I guess, like 8 weeks or so.
Okay.
So that's exciting.
Yeah. No. Who's running that?
This guy.
Wow. Nice. You ready?
No, that's why I said 8 weeks or so.
Is it a perpetual 8 weeks?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's 8 weeks from this moment.
We just have to get over the Gen Con hump. But but to move on, I guess I would normally separate, if I were a classic streaming kind of guy, two different topics with some sort of advertisement. But seeing as how the only thing we have to advertise is Live from Beyond, I'll just say, like, you should watch Live from Beyond Tuesday nights on Twitch from 7:30 to 9:30. And I'm back. So just switching tactics, we'll spend just a few minutes and then we'll head out so everybody can enjoy their evenings a little more than this. Let's talk.
You
Let's
can go
talk
do something
about
better
Live
with your
from
life.
Beyond itself. I am super excited, mostly because in my incredible noobishness, I spent a couple of hours and did more work than I thought I would figure out how to do, and brought up our website, which I think is
Oh, that's
exciting to
right.
announce
Yeah.
to the world.
Mm-hmm.
That we actually own livefrombeyond.com.
Like, did that cost you anything?
Well, $10. So if they
That's
want
why
to
we
give
need
me,
the $10 bill. Yeah.
that's what it's for, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
But yeah, if you go to livefrombeyond.com, you can actually find information about us, and we'll be putting up, all of our links. You can get to the Twitch from there. And I did a little intro for everybody who wants to read it and see what's going on and find out more about us. And I'm going to be doing a review this week before we head out to Gen Con of the West Marches Star Wars that we've been playing, which has been quite interesting, so that I can mine you for little quotes that I can put into my review. How do you feel about the West Marches campaign? How's it going?
How do I? I like it. I think it's tough to do West Marches in the format that we've got, which is 2 hours once a week. Well, okay. So a couple things. I think in traditional West Marches, the town is less than the space station that we have in Star Wars, which makes sense because a big part of Star Wars is buying stuff, and I guess it could be in D&D too. But I understand that you don't really pick up, magic blaster rifles deep in catacombs in Star Wars. I mean, that you could, but it's not really the way that it generally works. I guess
that's
maybe,
not how we're going to get the things that we want. It's
you could do a Star Wars game like that, but this one isn't, and that's fine. So there is a town, and there is money, and there is jobs, and that's fine. That the place where it kind of clashes, especially with our time limit, is that we only have 2 hours. So we've got to pick the mission, start it, talk to some people, then leave, get to the place, and basically be done there in 2 hours, which is a little bit of a tall order. And I think we just gotta figure out some dynamics to make that work. Maybe I think we're gonna try to choose what we want to do and figure out that talking stuff maybe a little bit online ahead of time, and then just roll right into it. I guess depending on GM Kim is, I think, can sort of fudge it one way or the other if he thinks something really interesting is going to happen in town, which again is not a West Marches thing. A West Marches thing, town is boring. Nothing happens in town.
Right.
That's like a cardinal rule. But I don't mind this, and maybe West Marches isn't quite the right word. Maybe just really sandboxy Star Wars is right. But I like it. It's been fun. I think Star Wars is a good vehicle for a sandbox, right?
And it's so accessible to the audience, right? In the sense of, I mean, obviously you can't do West Marches with everything. I mean, you basically just couldn't, right? But if you were to try and West March some games, it just wouldn't be interesting to the audience, because this is so much more of like, if you really just turned us on for one episode, it is a contained episode in as much as we can do, and it's really relatable. I mean, everybody knows like ships and blasters and the Force and this, that, and the other thing.
And it's a little different from what we've been doing since. Right, like a lot of what we do is a narrative, right? And the narrative is supposed to have a beginning and an end and a climax and a lulls and all these sort of academic type things. And West Marches is, I mean, there's a narrative there, but it's not a constructed narrative. It's an emergent narrative. So we are playing a game. We are, we're trying to win, I guess, right? More or less. We're not going out there to develop our characters, although I hope that happens along the way. But we're going out there we're going out there to get money and slay bitches.
We're going out there to develop a more put together framework in which to have the stories take place, I think.
Well, no, I just mean that like every episode's not going to have a climax at the middle, or a climax near the end, and then a resolution. I mean, or a recognizable narrative structure. I mean, for example, we could decide to go out and investigate the space wreck. On the way, intercept some signal that we think is really cool. Turn, go to that, find out that like it's a Star Destroyer and we can't fuck with it, and then like get maybe something happens and we leave, right? Like not really
Yeah.
a great narrative, but like as part of West Marches, that's kind of the kind of thing that happens. You go and you see what's out there, and whatever's out there is out there, and you do what you're going to do with it, and then you come back, and that can be cool. Because
Well, and so that's I think that's what's going to be tough sometimes. I was talking to Kim about this the other day, about trying to shove stuff into 2 hours,
mm-hmm.
and again what you mentioned of starting sort of already a couple of steps in instead of always starting from the very beginning. But he said, of course, like it's a little tough because whenever I'm preparing ideas for if they, because basically I think for a lot of what he did for West Marches was he laid out like an immense map
Mm-hmm.
and connected web,
Yeah.
at least like partly fleshed out every little thing in his head, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
classic old, like if you turn left, here's what's there. If you turn right, here's what's there. Um,
Sorry for the noise.
that's okay.
Uh,
I think he set a lot of this up, and he was saying, whenever I come up with an idea and I write something, I have to remember that like if they come up against this thing, it somehow has to only take 5 or 10 minutes, even if it's like this big
yeah.
crucial thing that goes on. And so I feel like,
I'm not sure that's always going to be the right approach, right? Because I think you need to have some things that could be like, I mean, just to throw some numbers out here. If you had a 3 hour adventure
mhm,
out there, right? Like there's a whatever a temple buried into the rocks, and it's going to take you think it's going to take 3 hours to get from the start of that temple to finish the end of that temple. It's okay to say like we're going to go check out that temple and we're going to try to bust into it and see what's inside there, and we get in and we're looking around, but like we get worn down, we get attacked by I don't know, beasts or force ghosts
temple
or
creatures.
whatever it
Sure.
is, or traps, and we decide we've had enough at some point, and we leave, and we come back a few episodes later, and we do another piece of it. I think that's okay. I think you've got to let go of the narrative, right? You can't control the narrative in West Marches, and that's kind of that's both its advantage and its disadvantage, because what can happen is you can be really successful, right? Like it's supposed to be very what's out there is out there, and
Hmm.
if you figure out that you can pit the stormtroopers against the Ewoks, I don't know, whatever, then they fight each other, and that happens, and now the Ewoks are all dead because the stormtroopers killed them, and you can just go into their houses and take their force crystals or whatever it
Well, so
is.
I mean, that's kind of the point I was thinking about based on after I was reflecting on the conversation I had with Kim, and
Mm,
I think you put it the best way, sort of letting go of the narrative.
mm,
This idea that I feel like, and we can discuss it with him, or he can just watch this and learn from our wisdom.
yeah,
But I feel like Kim may end up feeling more and more buttonholed into the narrative
yeah,
rather than letting it go. I feel like there's going to be a sense of, okay, well, I definitely need to have like a big reveal of the enemy, and there's always got to be a fight scene, and there's always got to be like some danger. So let me make sure I do that, but manage to condense it into the last 15 minutes and manage to condense
right,
the part where they feel like they're almost safe in the 15 minutes
mm,
before that, and
yeah,
so on and so
yeah,
forth, back to just
right,
like, all right, pick where you want to go.
yeah. But I
Um,
mean, I mean, on the other hand, you don't really want to. So I mean, of course, the conceit of West Marches is that every time there's an adventure, everybody goes out and then everybody comes back, and you always start at the town,
right.
and then you leave and you come back. And if you only have 2 hours, everybody might not decide that. Oh, excuse me. Or it might not make sense for the characters to be like, well, we're just going to leave now, right? Like maybe their ship is, I don't know, gets they get cut off from their ship and they can't leave at the end of 2 hours. Like, what do you do then?
Sure.
That's kind of a problem because literally, we're supposed to go 2 hours. Maybe we can go 2.5, but we're not going to go for 4 hours. And what do you do then? And it's not
Mhm.
an unsolvable problem, but it is. I'm sure Kim thinks about it, and I'm sure I would think about it too if I was running this, because it's it could be an issue. But anyway,
Well, so that's all some really good material. I'm going to be writing up a cool, I mean, we've only done 2 sessions,
mm-hmm.
and as I mentioned to Kim also, I mean, I feel like this is the kind of thing, especially within what we're talking about, where I don't really want this to go on for a long time, before we completely switch gears, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll do something because we haven't gotten to do like a real lot. Maybe we'll do 1 to 2 more after Gen Con, because we're looking to roll into like September, I think, before Apocalypse World starts. But then I would definitely want to revisit Star Wars, but it might not be for 6 months, a year, whatever it, because we're going to be doing other things.
Well, we got to get back to Cthulhu too. I think I just got another YouTube message that someone was requesting more.
Was it Pelgrane Press? Because then we'll definitely do it.
It was actually someone was requesting more Eclipse Phase. But as I'm the only one who likes Eclipse Phase.
I just can't really love Eclipse Phase. I don't know why.
I totally get it. I Eclipse Phase is not.
It's not for everyone.
I don't want to say it's right. I mean, yeah, it's not for everyone. I was going to say that like you either love it or you hate it, but I don't think that's true. I don't think so. I think a lot of people really love Eclipse Phase, and a lot of people are like, don't hate Eclipse Phase, but are just not
like,
really.
When I've played it, I've certainly had some entertainment and some fun, and I try and get into my character, but like, I don't know, there's something about it that never really grabs me. I mean, we can do more Eclipse Phase, but I think there's other stuff. I mean, I think we're excited about Malta. We might as well just roll into that for 30 seconds. Eternal Lies is the Trail of Cthulhu campaign that we've been playing basically on and off since like about when this started, right? I mean,
yeah, it's pretty early on. At this point, it's certainly been.
It's our longest running anything. Yeah, and we really got into it, and our esteemed GM Kevin was sending packages of clues physically in the mail to his players. That's good. That's good.
I have a box. I just moved, and there's a box somewhere in here that's just filled with Trail of Cthulhu.
He's just plugging for more money with the sympathy of having
that's going to be another $10.
Bought a home. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that we really want to get back to that. It's almost, I think it's almost to the point where I don't want to make too fine a point out of this or speak for everyone. I feel like we sort of lulled down a little bit in that we needed some recharges. A couple of people like dropped off for this game and that game and so on. And everybody sort of recharged. And now Gen Con's like this barrier. And on the other side of Gen Con is, oh yeah, I really want to play this and I really want to play that. And suddenly we're looking at, scheduling stuff out for the stream 3-4 months.
It's going to take us it's going to take us through November and then into the winter. We'll probably take a break in December sometime too.
But, like we did last year. Yeah, but it's definitely going to take us through then to play the next like even just 3 or 4 different systems.
Yeah, exactly. I want to do the next part of Distant Shore, but I don't know when it's going to happen. It may not happen until next January.
Oh, that's terrible. That's when the Expanse comes out again. I don't want to wait that long for the Distant Shore.
Well, then after the next Expanse season comes out, then we're going to have to play Eclipse Phase again.
Oh, God. This is so confusing.
Like, give the people what they want, Nick.
Yeah. God, I need that hair. So let me ask you, just apropos of nothing at all.
Sure.
In the last, let's see, what is it now? It is July. We officially launched Live from Beyond about 6 months ago, but we launched our streaming 17 months ago or whatever. In all that time, name your most favorite character.
Oh, name my most favorite character. Oh man. Wow, I was not prepared for this question.
Yeah, I didn't think you would be. It's a tough question. I mean, consider that even in just that limited time, we have seen a lot of colorful characters come and go.
Yeah, wow. I really liked Alex's crab from the Last Eclipse Phase.
Yep, that was interesting.
I really liked Fritz in Eternal
I liked
Lies.
when Octagon rhymed all the time. That was really the favorite of mine.
Who else? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I'll allow you a top 3 if you really want.
Yeah, no, I got to think of one more. All right, well, why don't you go?
Well, I can tell you for certain that
I think I know who might be at number 1.
Name alone, Foster the Ostler is definitely makes my top 3 from our DCC campaign. I think it was Kim's character originally.
Thostler the Ostler, yeah, it was.
The Ostler, yeah, Thostler the Ostler was great. And it taught us all what an ostler was, because as soon as we saw it, everybody was like, Google ostler, like, don't look like an idiot in front of all these other guys. So if you don't know what it is, look it up, losers. Yeah, Foster the Ostler was really high on my list. It's hard. Of course, I want to pick my characters. I mean, I really love playing some of them, and I try and bring dimensions to them that the audience will enjoy. And I have worked on that since the day we started streaming, is making them actually interesting. And sometimes it's just goofy to make you be like, oh, geez, this guy again. And some of it's actually for, like in Eternal Lies, I mean, we've talked endless hours about Kitty Kennedy's character, and I want to deepen her in so many different ways that will actually make it worthwhile for somebody to watch her for the 2 years that we're going to be playing this game.
I mean, you guys are getting there. How much more Eternal Lies is left? You guys have got to be at least about halfway. I think there's maybe like 3.
I mean, if we're not halfway, I'd just give up right now. But I think we are.
I think you guys reached a really good halfway point at the end of UV10. Right, pretty climactic.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely super climactic. So I mean, it's hard for me to not pick Kitty Kennedy. I have a lot that I put into Kitty Kennedy.
Well, I really like a lot of the Trail of Cthulhu characters.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can't pick which ones because they're all good.
I think probably my favorite non-Kitty Kennedy character by far has been Fritz Dreckner, the antiquarian, or the antiquarian. I think that Fritz, and sure, it's Aaron's style on the character, no doubt, but I think that Fritz manages to give you what you want out of a character for the audience, right? Which is moments of humor, followed by a lot of moments of him actually impacting the game,
right,
making good decisions, making you think about what might be coming up, either as a player or as an audience member.
Mm-hmm,
so I like Fritz a lot for that. And just gotta say it, I'm gonna round out my top choices with Gianluigi Della Costenta, just because the man deserves it for dying by being hit by a missile while flying through the air on a motorcycle.
It's a good way to go out. I mean,
wearing a fedora, a piece of clothing that he literally invented on the stream, and then somehow found a picture of on the internet, even though he had just invented it. So, yeah. Gianluigi, R.I.P. Most definitely.
All right, fair enough.
Did you come up with like a third for yourself while I was talking?
Oh man, I didn't.
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I like.
I don't think that I could probably even.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I got one. It's,
okay,
it's Santiago, or Alcatraz.
Santiago Alcatraz. That guy is.
If you can pick your own characters, then I can pick my own characters.
Yeah, I guess you can. I mean, that's fair. Right? To be fair, you have played very, very few PCs relative to everybody else. Yeah, Santiago Alcatraz, the communist ? The struggling ideologist who who has romantically befriended Kitty Kennedy for. I mean, the man was almost killed, and instead Gus Allen sacrificed himself instead of that other guy. And I think part of the vote was to kill Santiago, and then I tried to sort of sway it towards the guy that we'd found in the temple, whose name I don't recall.
Pablo,
and either way, Gus Allen decided to take the heat. And also R.I.P. Gus Allen.
Right.
Yeah, which I guess means that maybe one of my favorite characters is Frank Kearns, the man who is eternally asleep.
Frank Kearns is a good one.
But I don't think I could name all the games we've played, and certainly not all the characters that we've seen without a real struggle, right? I mean, I don't have a list right in front of me, but it's extensive just in the last 15 months or so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Especially because DCC alone probably has more characters than all the rest of our games combined.
Yeah, but I mean, it's DCC, right? So, like, not all the characters were
But Foster the Ostler.
The Ostler was pretty significant. I think he made it to level 1.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did. He went pretty deep into that dungeon.
Yeah.
So just in our last few minutes, tell me what are you excited about from Live from Beyond? What do you want to share with our folks from behind the curtain?
Oh
of
man,
your GM mask. How do you
there's not a
how
lot
do you
left.
feel like we're going? Especially since nobody will probably ever watch this. How do you feel about Life from Beyond going on?
It's good. It's good. I'm excited to keep going with some of the stuff we've been doing. I'm excited and a little bit anxious maybe about Distant Shore since it's not based on anything. It's just flowing forth
Yes,
from my own head.
yes.
Because I thought it was good. I thought the first part was good, and
Distant Shore was quite good.
thank you. And so I just hope I can keep it good and keep keep it fun and stuff like that. And of course, I'm looking forward to Trail of Cthulhu again more. It's a little daunting, right? I hope as happens, RPG campaigns do fall apart often before they finish. I think we will go to the end for this one, but it is a ways out there, so it is a little daunting as well.
I
But we're
think
getting
we're
there.
definitely gonna make it. There's no doubt we're gonna finish Eternal Lies, but it's a haul, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so good that we've interspersed it with some real big swaths of other things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm into it. I think maybe we'll do. I'm sure we'll get Malta out of the way this year. Maybe we can do. I don't know if we'll have time to do another Trail of Cthulhu before the end of the year. I think so, maybe.
I Yeah, I mean it's all just down to whether or not we want to just roll right into it, right? It'll be up to us when
Yeah.
we all get together and talk about the scheduling. Um, yeah, speaking of Distant Shore coming off the top of your head, I am slowly, like really, really slowly, but surely, sort of cementing in my head the ways in which I want to start planning an RPG that I write myself.
Okay. Yeah.
It's certainly been a long time coming in terms of like I've started to understand what I want. I had a good talk with Kim recently about ways in which to pick for sure the system that I use, which has been one of the stumbling blocks in me starting to flesh out the ideas I have in my head because I keep coming up against, hey, is this even going to exist in whatever I use, or is it going to make sense, or
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm basically a lot of it's just going to have to be coming at it from the other direction. Uh, but that's exciting, and I had an intense, vivid dream. For those of you who are aspiring writers, or for those of you who are quite adept writers, Pelgrane Press, who are watching this and already are way ahead of me, light years. I had a vivid dream about a week ago that was something like the opening cutscene to to like a big up and coming video game or something. Like pretty good graphics, really hooks you into the story, and it was from a first person perspective, and it was very sci-fi. It was very detailed. I have no concept where the story came from in
Okay.
relation to you have a
But this
dream.
story is going to be a game.
Right. Well, so I wrote it all down, even the things that didn't make sense that I would have to piece back together, and just am looking at that as is this a way to open the game and
Okay.
bring it to the
Yeah.
ideas that I had already had, and I just
And do you have a
you know
system?
no, not for 100% sure, but we're working on it, and
Can you
I
give us any
allowed
hints?
myself
Anything you're
the
leaning to?
say again.
Any hints? Anything you're leaning to?
No, I'm not going to give any hints. Well, I'll give a hint. I think that most likely this game will be investigative in nature. That's all I will say.
Well, that kind of narrows it down for this group.
Well, yes and no. Part of the reason that I'm not deciding for sure is because I'm going to give myself the pretty easy moment to go to Gen Con and see what I find.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And once Gen Con is over, I will have it, and I will turn that opening into something that can be a thing, and shoot for something that's like.
So it's going to be based on the Baker Street RPG.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely.
Okay.
It's basically going to be that, but with a mechanic that we can remember a year later. And
Well, I mean, a year's a long time to remember.
a year's a long time with all the Munchkin fuckery that's in our heads.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, I think that I really want to do it, and I was blown away when I woke up that I not only remembered all the details of the dream, but that they had absolutely nothing to do with anything that had happened in my life. So I felt divinely inspired. And I'm gonna have to turn it into something.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I look forward to it.
Me too. So that's it for us. I think we're gonna bring this to an end. The two of us having a fireside chat instead of role playing. But we hope that if for some reason anybody ever watches this, if Kevin even deigns to put it on the YouTube, which he should, that you enjoyed it, that you found our discussion fruitful, that you found the fact that we're going to be at Gen Con exciting because you're going to be there too and you want to say hello to us or punch us in the face for wasting the last 55 minutes of your life. One or the other, basically. You could easily find us by stalking the Pelgrane Press booth, apparently. And I think that's it. We're really looking forward to getting on the other side of it and continuing Star Wars or Malta or whatever it is that's going to come up in just a couple weeks.
Games. And I mean, just not enough time, right? I mean, we never played Hillfolk. Never played any Rocket Age.
I was telling Kim that one of the things I had initially considered for the game I'm writing is Mutant City Blues, and a strong motivation behind that was the fact that we never even got around to trying to do something with it.
Right.
I would like to, and I feel like we're going to buy more stuff at Gen Con and be another year behind, but we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll throw Hillfolk on for one of those weeks when there's nothing really planned, and we'll see if we could just get some people to drama it out a little bit.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for watching. There's no chance anyone's watching this on Twitch, so if you're watching this on YouTube, don't let this be an excuse to not watch one of our actual recorded streams from the games. I think some of them are actually quite entertaining. We're gonna have to give ourselves like end of the year awards this year or something like that for best character name like Thoster the Ostler, and see how that goes.
Fair enough.
But thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you again on Live from Beyond.